everyone, and welcome to the What the Fuck Show again. I'm Jennifer Jensel Lacorny, one of your hosts, and with me as always is Kitty, the Empress of Hell. Hi, Kitty. And my other half, the lovely Will of Godless Sewing.
How's it going? I'm dressed like Judas Priest today. I'm ready to fight. I'm out of tinfoil, but bring on the conspiracies.
Do you want to introduce everyone, Will or Kitty?
So, as always, we have the lovely Purple Rhymes with Orange. How are you? How are you this evening?
Hello.
Nikki, how are you?
All things considered, pretty decent.
Awesome. And with us, of course, I'm honored to have Bionic Dance.
Hi.
We don't like Michael Stackpole here. Yes, we know who you are. No, I'm kidding. I had to say that. I had to.
Yeah, you really didn't, but I mean, I agree with you, so it's okay, but...
Am I going crazy, or did you miss introducing Sinise?
I think we just got caught up talking about Michael Stackpole. But go on.
And we have the lovely Sinise. How are you?
Existing. I'm no longer hating my life as much now that I'm out of the shithole I was working in.
Oh, that's good.
Yay!
So, whose life are you hating now?
Still mine, just not to a significant degree.
Oh, I forgot my giant Pepsi because we're talking about conspiracies. I gotta go old school and get my drink.
Ew, Pepsi.
Because giant Pepsis are a conspiracy?
Pepsi is nasty. It tastes like laundry detergent. Are you sure we're live, Jen? Because I'm not seeing the little thing that says we're live.
Oh, you won't, because I'm using OBS. We're definitely live because I'm watching it.
It's running on YouTube.
It's running on YouTube. It's fine. We are definitely
live.
live.
It's a little bitter.
Okay,
like Coke has some bitterness
thinking we're live and we're not.
Okay,
Yeah.
We never got to introducing Nikki.
Yeah, we did.
No, I did. I got mine now.
Yeah,
okay.
You got his out. It's alright, we're good. We know who everyone is now. And this week we're talking about a particular Wuhan thing, but COVID thing. God, I'm as bad as Trump. No one's as bad as Trump.
Pence is pretty close.
But
So is my ex-husband.
Obligatory plug right there.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, did you hear Rick Wiles? Pastor Rick Wiles is in hospital with COVID now?
Oh, that's
really?
That sounds like justice.
Ironic.
Ironic, yeah. Ironic, that's a better word than justice.
I wish my ex-husband would go into the hospital.
I don't believe in much at all, so that's extremely ironic.
I believe in crystal because I believe in me. Sorry, that commercial has been stuck in my head since the 80s. I can't help it.
So, Kitty, do you wanna lead us in the direction that we need to go?
Okay, so going back a year ago, there was the start of a conversation about whether or not COVID was naturally occurring in the wild or whether it might have been a lab leak, because Wuhan is not traditionally an area where pandemics, or at least, these types of viruses start, because there are certain areas of China where things like SARS and MERS and swine flu and everything, they tend to start, and Wuhan is not one of them. So there was the conversation, early on where it's like, well, could it have been a lab leak? Because there is the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, and they're like, no, nothing to see here. Definitely not. It's a conspiracy theory. And I think one of the reasons the mainstream media really leaned into the it's a conspiracy theory thing was because Trump latched onto that in his xenophobic, China virus kung flu bullshit. However, fast forward a year, and they've not been able to identify the population of bats that this virus came from. They haven't been able to trace it back to the source, which in MERS, it took them 9 months to trace it back. And in SARS, it was 4 months. Or it might have been switched for those. One of them was 9 months, one of them was 4 months for SARS and MERS, where they were able to trace it back to the original bat population and the intermediate species. So in one of them, it was, I think, an ocelot or a civet. It was a civet. And in the other one, it was a camel. So it's basically, it jumped from the bat to the camel, and then from the camel to humans. They haven't been able to find that with SARS-CoV-2, which is what causes COVID-19. And the Chinese government now has had over a year to, present this evidence, and they have yet to actually show any of it. So that got people thinking, well, maybe there actually is something to this lab leak thing, and it's not just a racist, xenophobic conspiracy theory to, point blame at China. Some of the people that in the beginning were like, nothing to see here, it's totally natural, wasn't a lab leak, were actually covering their own asses in a way, including Anthony Fauci, because Fauci and the NIH, the National Institute of Health of the United States, they were actually funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology they try to weasel out of it, like saying that it's not gain-of-function research, but it was gain-of-function that they were doing. So the United States government was actually funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology for studying coronaviruses. And there was actually, I forget the guy's name. I had it, but my tab's closed, so I'll have to go looking for it. But he actually had just done an interview like a month or two before COVID-19 blew up and everything was bad, where he was talking about the essentially gain-of-function research that they were doing, and that they were studying coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So that doesn't guarantee that it was a lab leak. But since they haven't been able to find the intermediary species, they haven't been able to find the actual start of it with the bat population that had it, and the fact that they were doing gain-of-function research, which is notoriously bad about having leak accidents, and that the U.S. government was funding it. There's a lot of people that really wanted it to go away and not have people looking into that. So as soon as Trump latched onto it, it really gave them kind of an out, because it's like, oh, well, Trump's gonna Trump, he's just gonna be a racist fuck, But it is something that we actually do need to look into, because the U.S. government is actually going to be doing more investing in more gain-of-function research. And if this whole last year taught us anything, it's that humankind is fucked, and we cannot come together even in a global crisis. So if the next thing is fucking SARS-CoV-1, which had a much higher mortality rate, if they start fucking around with that and it accidentally leaks out. Oh, and 3 of the researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology ended up hospitalized right before COVID blew up. Right before the first cases of COVID, they ended up in the hospital with symptoms. I don't think they necessarily said what symptoms they had, but the more you peel back these layers, the more it's looking like it actually was a lab accident, which, I mean, there's still people that are conspiracy theorists, people that are like, oh, well, the Chinese government released it on purpose. No, they didn't, because, nobody's going to do something like that. Or the U.S. government is involved, so it was the U.S. government and the Chinese government conspiratorially releasing it to fuck over the world. No.
It was Trump trying to get more votes by killing people.
No, it literally comes down to Occam's razor, or basically never attribute to malice what can be attributed to sheer stupidity. They were researching these viruses. They didn't have the best safety protocols, and it got out, as they do. Ian Malcolm, said, we can have the argument about whether a virus is life or not, but that's a whole other thing. But as Ian Malcolm would say, life finds a way.
Huh.
Viruses, whether they meet the living definition or not, there is actual debate on whether a virus is, technically able to be considered alive or
By the
not.
definition of life, they're not. But yeah.
See, but one of the things that is kind of a byproduct of this is on page 10 of this month's Scientific American. America right now is actively prosecuting Chinese or Chinese American scientists to the point where they're like, we're being racially profiled. People that had nothing to do with Wuhan or anything, but they've traveled to China and back since, are being indicted by the federal government right now. You can look it up. And Scientific America is like, we need to save our community.
Well, you know that... Oh, I thought you were done.
Oh, go ahead. No. By all means, please.
Well, it's that attitude, that sort of xenophobic racism that has me almost not wanting the investigation, because I can see it on the right. They want China to be the next big bad in the war. They want them to be the next USSR, the next Vietnam, the next Nazi Germany, whatever. The point is they're looking for a scapegoat and a villain, and they've decided it's China. At least
because
that's the
inherently conservative governments do well during war.
But Rand Paul's rant on Fauci is why I thought it was a conspiracy. The more I look into it, somebody effed up somewhere, but we're humans. Tell me somewhere where there hasn't been a Chernobyl
the other side of that
is in California.
You could look at that way, but you can also look at it that just because there is an absence of evidence of exactly where it came from doesn't necessarily mean it's a conspiracy. Just because you haven't found the source and the path that it got through doesn't mean that it didn't come from. It didn't come.
And I think that's important. Way. That's important. That's extremely important to convey.
Unfortunately, this is exactly what the Republicans need right now, because they can bring this up and they can say, "See, Trump was right, so he must have been right about the election too."
Yeah, you don't want this.
Yeah, that's just the snowball we need.
I mean, the World Health Organization 3 days ago called up and said, look, everything about these ideas that it got is a leak out of a lab is purely a conspiracy theory at the moment. There is no hard evidence to suggest that it was a lab leak and that this wasn't a natural occurrence just like all the others.
But there's no hard evidence the other way either, so it's something that we need to investigate, because we need to take precautions so it doesn't happen again, especially if they're going to continue gain-of-function research, because if that's what led to this in the first place, then we really need to re-examine, because we as a species would not survive a more deadly fucking pandemic, a more deadly
in all
strain.
Honesty, we should be looking at lab security all the time whenever you're dealing with viruses, because it is, they still do research on certain viruses that are dead in the wild in laboratories. You wouldn't want one of them getting out.
Oh yeah.
We don't have immunities anymore because effectively we've killed them.
Out again.
And it seems in some ways like the planet kind of wants to kill us off. I mean, between this and the bubonic plague just came back, it just seems like the world has decided, okay, no more humans.
The bubonic plague never really died, though. I mean, at least once a year you'd hear about somebody getting it for a while now.
Oh, I wasn't saying that SARS was dead. Smallpox is effectively dead outside of the lab in the first world.
That's the last thing we need is that
kind of look at tuberculosis. Now we just take a shot. Yeah, but that's because of anti-vaxxers, though.
Oh, well, that's a whole different issue. Anti-vaxxers are an entirely different issue.
Oh, man.
I got a jab for everything.
I can't stand the anti-vaxxer shit. I heard a bunch of it. I don't know how many of your viewers know this. I know everybody in this group knows this. But around the end of April, I was hospitalized with a pulmonary embolism. It was about a week after I received my first COVID shot. So right away, certain people whose names I'm not going to mention, because one of them's in the next room, started looking for ways to blame the vaccine. And I was like, first of all, I got the fucking Pfizer shot, not Johnson & Johnson. Even if I had gotten Johnson & Johnson, I don't fall within the age group. I'm under 30 of women who developed the blood clots. No, it wasn't the goddamn vaccine.
Yeah.
So, fuck anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, and honestly, I was never more sick in my entire life after that second dose of Moderna. Still glad I did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. You know, it was short term, and in the long run, it's worth it. Like, I was surprisingly fine after, like, my first shot. I was tired, and I was glad I had taken the day off work. My second shot, I actually got 2 days before I went back to work after the pulmonary embolism, and I got it, and I was like, I don't even remember it really affecting me, which was actually a relief, especially with the fact that I had the clot in my lung. And it was funny when I went to the mega site for the second dose. So they were asking me, like, are you sick or anything? Or you want any kind of medications? I was like, well, I'm on 5 milligrams of warfarin every day because I had a giant golf ball of blood in my lung. And they said, are you sure you should be here? I was like, yeah, dude, my doctor said it was fine. In fact, it was recommended.
So would this fall under conspiracy theory, or is this people messed up and, or is this a political ploy for no one to take responsibility?
Depends who you ask.
Today, China was like, let's not forget that the United States of America said that there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They said that today. So they were like, let's not think that these guys are the authority.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Unless their motives are pure, in other words, unless they're going in to find out what happened so it doesn't happen again, I'm kind of against an investigation. Because I do think that it's people trying to make political hay if they're not actually doing it for the science, for the medical reasons.
So it's blame China. It's basically let's blame China.
That's what it seems to be on the right wing. If that becomes a non-factor, please, by all means, investigate.
And you know what? The one thing that I want to bring to the forefront is the resurgence of hatred towards Asian Americans. In America, we're right back to where we all forget that in Georgia, a man walked into a spa and shot 6 people.
Yeah,
I saw that, and I looked at it. What a sad world we live in that us Americans can see something like that and be like, oh, another day, another shooting.
Well,
it didn't
to be
really
fair,
faze me because it's just become the norm.
But to be fair, that particular weekend did have 3 shootings. To be absolute, or 2 at least, like to be absolutely fair. But we are seeing a resurgence in just.
Oh, it's nearly 1 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think that we do need to investigate it, because if we are going to continue to fund gain-of-function research, if we're going to continue to fund research into these types of things, we need to know. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever know for sure, because it's entirely possible China would have burned any evidence that, it was a lab leak incident. So we might not know 100%, but I do think it's important to find out, because we can take it as a cautionary tale, because we saw how the world handled COVID-19, and some countries did great, most did not. Some did atrocious, which, ours is in that latter category. And again, this was a virus that only had about a 3% mortality rate. Imagine if it had a 33 or 63% mortality rate.
Hold on, about that. A lot of people measure how nasty this virus was by how many people died, but there's all those people with permanent lung scarring.
No, I was getting to that. I was getting to that.
Okay.
I'm not even really talking as much about COVID-19. I'm just saying it only had a 3% mortality rate.
Yeah.
If you imagine something that had, 30 or 60, or there's one strain of SARS that it has a 90% mortality rate. Luckily, it's not very catching. But can you imagine if something with, again, even a 30%, 1 in 3 people die from it? Look at the numbers of cases we had around the world, especially in the United States.
So LA County was a perfect example. We, the first lockdown, man, we adhered to the masks. It was shocking. LA looked abandoned. The second time around, people were like, you know what, we're not going to do this. Our numbers skyrocketed.
And that's the thing, and that's just dealing with the mortality rate. As Bionic Dance brought up, that's not even bringing in the fact that, it is doing permanent damage to people. So imagine that, where it does, even if you survive, if you're one of the lucky 1 in 3 or 2 in 3 in, a theoretical 30 to 60% mortality killer, like it, if you end up with permanent damage, like that would literally fuck up the entire world forever. Because, I mean, again, it would completely destabilize economies if 1 in 3 people were to die. And like that, again, considering there's a SARS variant out there that has a 90% mortality rate in humans, it's just, again, it hasn't really crossed the species barrier. Yeah, so imagine something that is, again, only a third as lethal, 30%. Yeah. So 1 in 3 people who catch, CoV 25 or whatever will die.
So do you think the threat of imminent death would bring people together? So let's say we had something that was like a 50% death rate. If it was sweeping through, just washing out countries, do you think people would do something about it then? Or would it be the same?
I think so, but I think it would be at the point where it was already too late. Because you had, with this one, it had a 14-day incubation period. If half of people would die from it, with just how quickly it spread through, sure, once, you realize what's happening and things go into lockdown, you'll have people that will see the signs for the next time this happens, and they'll wear masks, they'll socially distance, they'll do everything they can. But if it were just a little bit more contagious, or, along with being more lethal, those precautions aren't necessarily going to keep you safe. And ultimately, if you were to lose a third of your population, that would completely destabilize your country. Well, and it would be a national security nightmare.
I had to teach my mom and put it in perspective for her. I was like, Mom, do you know what a 1% fatality rate is? And she goes, no. I go, okay, we're going to do the calculations here. We're going to round up. We're going to assume that there is 8 billion people on the planet Earth. What is 1% of 1 billion? 1 million times 8. 8 million people. You're going to know someone, especially here in the United States, that has died from it. And since a lot of us are on YouTube, Twitter, and all the other social media, we probably know quite a few.
Thankfully, I only know one, and she was on her deathbed anyway, so there's that.
I know a couple of people. Actually, one of them was elderly, but the other one was young. She was not even 40, and she had kids that she left behind. She was in the ICU for a month, and they thought she was getting better, and then boom, she was just gone. And her husband lost his shit. He fucking completely went crazy over it. I'm talking trashing the house, throwing out the mattress, throwing everything out. Just he had a complete mental breakdown because he lost his wife, the mother of his children. The other one was an elderly, technically not family member, but I grew up with them as adopted grandparents. So for all intents and purposes, they were like grandparents, just not blood related.
My uncle's in a long-term care home because he had a stroke 2 years ago, so he needs a lot of help. And he had the COVID. Fortunately, he recovered. But in that care home overall, they had a death rate of nearly 10% when the COVID went through there.
Yeah.
See,
I've yet to know somebody that died from it, but I've known a few people who, I have at least one friend that had it, and my mom has been exposed twice. And if my mom gets it, she will die.
My cousin James had it, but it was one of those things where he didn't know he had it until he went to the doctor and they said, oh, by the way. And he was like, okay, I guess that explains why I can't smell anything. But it was one of the most mild cases ever. He's perfectly fine. And after about 2 months, his sense of smell came back. But aside from him and my grandma Ann, the one who died, those are the only people I've actually personally known who had COVID.
They had to test me for COVID in the hospital, Most unpleasant thing ever.
I've known quite a few people that have passed from it. But because of my job, I know at least 6 people that have passed from it. But like Byron Dance was saying, every single case is different. My brother's wife and son had it. My brother's a born asthmatic, shocker, and he didn't get it. So,
Well, if it makes it easier, by the way, you can call me Kate or Bionic or BD. Most people do. Up to you. Bionic Dance is a bit of a mouthful, so it's up to you.
It's okay.
And I did not mean that literally. Bionic Dance could be a mouthful, but that's not what I was getting at.
I try to be polite. I try.
In relation to the whole investigator and things, the number of people who would have, even though from our little sample, people we actually know in real life. I mean, I actually don't know anybody in real life who's died from it. I know people who know people. But then again, our cases in Australia were a lot less than they were in the US, so it's less likely that we'll know someone.
Way less.
Yeah, Australia was definitely on the higher end of how COVID was handled.
Yeah, well, we did a reasonably good job, especially
I'll also say this. I was trained because I work at a hospital I'm not allowed to say the name of right now, but it's a government facility, and I'm a housekeeper.
Area 51.
Yeah, I wish it was Area 51.
Area 19.
When did Area 51 move to Missouri? But no, like seriously, I got trained in my first day training was the MICU, or proper training outside of, because I was already working there. I just went from a therapy program that I was getting paid for to being a full-time employee, and they threw me straight into the lion's den. The only good thing is I did not have to go into the COVID rooms, which there was 2 of.
You'll appreciate this when you're done.
And fuck the non-believers. You want to see what trauma is? Fucking see 2 people hooked up with every fucking life support system there is, just so they can stay alive.
I lost it like a month ago.
And they're still saying that COVID isn't real. I've heard of people, like, their last words were literally, "This isn't happening."
Mm-hmm.
And one story that will stick with me probably till the day I die is about this one girl. Like, people do, chickenpox parties where they get their kids chickenpox early.
Don't tell me they have COVID parties.
Yeah. Oh yes. And there was one girl, I think she was like 30 or 20 something, I don't know, where she went to one, and she said, like, I don't know if it was like her last hour of life or something. She turns to a nurse and she goes, "I think I made a mistake." And then she dies. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy that people are doing this.
Well, you're aware that COVID-19 is an alien conspiracy by the reptilians to take our focus away from the flat Earth.
So I live in a predominantly Mormon neighborhood, and in the beginning of the pandemic, somebody I actually respect my neighbor and her husband. They brought their whole family over, and they had what I would consider a COVID party. And they never wore masks. And then my neighbor next door to them got COVID and partied with them, and one of their kids got COVID, and they still don't wear masks, and they still are close talkers.
My building where I live, it's a complex that has a courtyard, right? And like all through the pandemic, my neighbors were having barbecues and stuff. And I'm like, you people are all going to die, aren't you? Oh, I don't know if they have. I mean, people move in and out of this place pretty quickly. But I was just like, I cannot believe you people are doing this. There was no social distancing, no masks. No
it drives me crazy.
It was just, I'm like, you people are insane.
I get so angry. It actually, like, my heart rate is already elevated because it's just working extra hard with the little golf ball in my lung there. But I feel my heart start to race, and I get chest pains, and shit like that.
What is the golf ball? I missed the golf ball thing. Can you explain that?
Oh, my pulmonary embolism when it was first discovered was roughly the size of a golf ball.
Okay.
I'm lucky I'm alive. Anyway, like, I'll walk into my local 7-Eleven, and I see people sitting at the... Here in Philadelphia, we have 7-Elevens with these little skill games, kind of like, I think, like slot games. And people sit at them with no fucking masks on or nothing, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
It's the whole it can't happen to me thing where people think, oh, it hasn't happened to me, you know.
But the logic of it is crazy. I mean, like...
What logic? That's the thing.
Yeah, there is no logic. But like in Australia, we went to the... everyone stay at home. You have to wear a mask if you go out. You have to have a decent reason to go out, or you could be fined. That is how strict it was here. So if you went out without a mask, you got a fine. If you went out and didn't have a reason to be out, and the cops said, "What are you doing out?" and you couldn't show you had a decent reason, you might get fined. Now, you were allowed to go out to go to the shops if you had to get something, but you had to be masked up. You had to wash your hands. You had to sign in and say where you'd been because they wanted to track everybody. This was our liberties taken away, is what the Americans would say, but it worked. And we only were like that for a couple of months at the beginning, and then we had it under control. And after that, you didn't have to wear a mask unless it flared up in your area, which meant things were under control. So you went back to a relatively normal life with the virus not being a major concern.
I remember when the whole thing started and they were only letting a certain number of people into the grocery stores at once. You know, like we're all lined up around the block like it's a Star Wars sequel, just trying to get a box of Wheaties. You know, it was crazy. But there were like, I remember when I went to a fast food place when they finally reopened them, and the guy cooking was totally dick-nosing. And I was like, yeah, I'll come back when the pandemic's over. You know,
I see traffic in drive-thrus all the time.
Yeah, I mean, people in San Diego were pretty good about wearing their masks, but there were a few holdouts, but not many, and certainly no one was being let into stores without at least pulling the mask up, although a lot of them would pull it back down as soon as they were inside, which was really frustrating, especially since they would get really pissy if you tell them to knock it off. Right? But then you got all like the right-wing anti-masker types, and what I was figuring out was that if COVID were big, like if the germs themselves were the size of puppies and you gave right-wingers something to shoot, they probably would have been the most rabid, mask-wearing, like COVID-fighting believers you ever saw. But
I was so...
and small and you can't do anything about it. You can't fight COVID.
Yeah,
you know?
It's odd, isn't it?
That's why it made it so easy for them to be non-believers, for them to be anti-maskers, because it was so easy to deny.
And yet, which again, they're more than happy to believe in an invisible sky daddy.
Believing in God. So what do you?
Yeah, exactly. Do? Yeah, they're more than happy to believe in an invisible sky daddy, but a little not invisible, but very, very, very tiny virus. Oh, that's not real.
Maybe if we told them it came from Satan.
So
or from Mexico.
If something's invisible, then their invisible sky daddy can protect them from it.
Well, there is that too. You're not wrong. Although, again, I have to mention Rick Wiles, Pastor Rick Wiles, and if you're an atheist, you know who that fucker is.
I do.
He's in the hospital with COVID. He was a total COVID denier, and now he's in the hospital. Neener. It is really hard to be nice about it because that guy's a dick.
Is it any surprise?
So all we need now is Greg Locke to get it, right?
Yeah.
What's that, Purple?
Well, is it any surprise that he got the COVID when every week he was encouraging dozens of people to come to his building?
Okay, I said this when Herman Cain died.
It's more a delight to see him hoist by his own petard.
But that's what I said when
that's a euphemism.
when Herman Cain died, I was like, duh! I was yelling at my television. He was taking anti-masker pictures on a plane. How many of those people infected him? How many people did he infect?
Oh,
it's worse than that. No.
I literally looked at my phone screen and I was like, that's what you fucking get.
They were so gross.
It's worse than that. Trump got Herman Cain killed, dragging him around to those rallies. Yep. And then the ghost of Herman Cain, basically his team, was continuing to fucking post on his Twitter anti-masking, anti-social distancing, like, stuff. And it's like, this fucker died from it, and you're using his Twitter account to continue to promote the propaganda that led to his death.
That had me screaming at the
What about
TV.
he was sitting there on this ventilator, not believing he actually had it?
A denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Nope.
Man,
You know?
I mean, how can people just deny that? Like the scientific illiteracy just drives me up the wall. It's like people think that they understand physics by going with their gut, that they understand medicine because they watched an episode of ER. I mean, it's crazy. Just the level of Dunning-Kruger coming off of some of these people.
But there's
and
a
you
lack
can't
of
convince them.
education.
It's deliberate.
There, Kate.
No,
There's a-
it's deliberate.
Oh, you're not wrong. It's just frustrating.
No. The reason why it's deliberate, they have cut funding to education. In the United States, the only way schools get funded is through property taxes. And so only the wealthy areas actually have decently funded schools. So it is a deliberate dumbing down of America because not getting the proper education, not learning critical thinking skills, not learning scientific literacy, you are basically taught to pass a test, and that is it.
But also,
Nothing to
like,
actually help
it
you
still
in life.
seems very confined to the right wing. I mean, at least in general. It's like on the left, usually people are pretty good about science, or at least willing to learn. But on the right wing, not so much. Superstition rules.
like here in California, you could never
It really is
teach.
people
You could
with
never
brains
have
versus
RS.
idiots.
Like
The
we
US?
could religious studies. We would never have that. But in Texas, they integrate it into their school system. You would never get it here in California.
Texas
You know,
writes
so-
have
the
it here
school books
either.
for everywhere else. Texas writes the school books for everywhere else in the country. The textbooks all come from Texas, and that is another reason why our education system is going further and further down the toilet.
They
Well,
don't
a lot
actually
of-
come
a lot
from
of,
Texas,
like, blue
but
staters
because
are moving into Texas, so
Yep.
maybe that'll change.
well,
Hey,
because
and-
Texas
It's not
is
that
such
they
a
come
big
from
market for the
Texas.
textbooks,
Uh-huh.
the publishers have to dumb the books down because if they can't sell them in Texas, they can't make their profit.
Hey, does anyone remember when the History Channel actually did history?
No,
I remember it.
I wasn't
Yeah,
watching.
I remember that
really.
back in the 90s.
That's like,
I like watching sci-fi and
Anybody remember that mockumentary on mermaids that tricked like half the country that mermaids were real?
No,
It's
but
because
don't ever
people-
show that to Stool.
It's because people want
God,
people. It's
fucking
kind of like
cool.
aliens. It's kind of like aliens. They want it to be true.
Yeah, well,
Okay, but have you been seeing all that UFO footage that's getting released these
Oh,
days?
And
Yeah.
how sad is it? How sad is it though? How effed up is the world that no one cares?
well,
Like I care, but like you know.
I
But
mean,
like
I
when
think
you press-
it's
that
great,
mermaid
but until they
documentary-
land on the White House lawn or someone takes a
Exactly.
real high-def photo,
the reason that mermaid documentary had so many people going was because at the time the Discovery Channel had credibility for giving good information.
well, I'm still amused at how people reacted to that War of the Worlds broadcast back in the day.
Because people are
Okay.
inherently stupid. You got
Yes.
to remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
there is an average level of intelligence, and half the people in the world are lower than it.
But Trump proved that we're still lemmings.
Only
Well,
half
it's
the
kind of
people
fun because
are
like since IQ is on a relative scale, like you say, it's like
Yeah.
0 is the average. I mean, when I was in high school, my IQ was like 133. Right now, it's got to be like 186 with all those people dragging us down. You know what I mean?
It's crazy times. It's just so. I'm gonna ask the question: is it a conspiracy, or is it something real, or is it somewhere in the middle? Or is it just political wrangling?
Which
The whole
one is
Wuhan,
it?
the Wuhan
Oh.
connection.
It's a little of everything, I say. I think that there are those people who are trying to stoke anti-Asian hatred because they need some hated other, a boogeyman to stir up the base. But there's also people who genuinely want to investigate to make sure this doesn't happen again. The problem is that they all have to work together, and I don't trust the xenophobes to not try to make hay out of this. So,
Well,
I
the
think
fact
the
is
biggest
the United
problem-
States was
There
funding
may
it.
be some element
Yes.
of truth to the concept. There may be some element of truth. The problem is that, you're going to get the racists, you're going to get the bigots, and this is all going to be twisted around. This is going to become a political play for some. It's going to become, verification of racist beliefs for others.
What I saw
Things
Rand,
that could go
Yeah.
wrong.
but when I saw Rand Paul like basically yelling at Dr. Fauci, I felt like he was trying to convey an
Well,
anti-Asian sentiment. You know,
we need an investigation in this,
Hmm.
but we need a proper investigation. We can't have it being a witch hunt, which is what's probably going to be at this point.
It should be like done by the UN or
it's
something.
not
Like the
Robert
US
investigation.
should be just one of the many different agencies investigating it. It should be almost like double-blind testing in a way, like peer
Mhm.
review, rather
Well-
than because I know the US wants to take the command of the investigation.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's something the rest of the world should put the kibosh on.
Well, considering we're talking about a virus, shouldn't it be the World Health Organization leading it?
Well,
Yes.
you'd think.
Yeah, I think there's an element of thing that people have got this impression that China sat on this for several months before the world actually knew what was going on, which isn't exactly true. The initial outbreaks that they had, they actually did report to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization decided that this probably wasn't a major concern because it looked like they had it under control. They did not have it under control, but it wasn't because the problem wasn't that they didn't report it. The problem was the rest of the world sat on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we decided, oh yeah, China's got it under control. Well, they didn't have it
Hey.
under control.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Does anyone remember the movie Outbreak from the 90s?
Yes.
Of course.
I love that movie.
It's been forever since I saw it, but it was totally trending on Netflix when the pandemic
I was
started.
about to say, does anyone
I
get
wanted
that?
to work at the CDC because of that movie.
Does
I have
anyone
never
get that
seen
type
it in my
of?
life.
It is
Never
a
seen
very,
it.
very good movie.
Is that with Dustin Hoffman, Cuba Gooding Jr.? Okay.
Renee Russo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it's been a while.
Yeah, been a lot.
Okay, we need to
of
watch
time.
that on a movie
I
night.
remember that from
Definitely.
when I saw it in the 90s because I worked in 4 different video stores. But that I still have the cast list in my head is crazy pants. It's been decades. Just saying.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the fucking outlier here. Never seen it, never even heard of it.
Oh,
See,
wow.
my main problem with all of this is the underlining racism. I'm
Wait,
down
wait
for
a minute.
investigations, for all of it. Just stop. It's not Chinese people. It's a person in a lab. You know,
And even if it was China, it's not Chinese Americans, and it's certainly not like
Exactly.
Japanese, Korean, Vietnamic,
No,
and Thai
It's not the
Americans either.
population of China
The
as
United-
a whole.
The United States was funding the research being done in Wuhan. Like, we cannot point the finger at China on this because we were the ones funding the research at that lab.
And according to
It was a
sorry.
lab leak. It's entirely our fault because we were funding the research and we weren't guaranteeing that proper, safety protocols were being followed. Full stop. We've got no one to blame. but
Probably the
ourselves.
reason why the
US
research
fucked the
was
world.
being done in China in the first place.
But right now, like I said on page 10 of Scientific American, our FBI is kicking down the doors of Asian American scientists. Anyone who had any connection with it at all. And then they're saying, oops, I'm sorry, you're still protected under the 13th and 14th Amendment. We forgot. And it's literally in the article. It's saying, and it's more than 10 or 15 people have been fully arrested.
This
Within the
country
past 3
drives me
months.
up the wall. Just the way people behave like that. Honestly, there's times I think just like up here, I'm not American. You know what I mean? I watch what the rest of the country does.
Come to Australia,
I'm sitting
Kate.
here going, this is so. I don't belong in a world that works like that. I just don't.
I agree. I was raised total amosexual, fundy American, and I still like it's all just a lie,
Okay, raised
I'm
by
ready to move, dude. I'm ready to move too. Trust me. See, I'm a real life flag shagger, and I still think it's just a disgrace
Wait,
of
real
what's
life
going
what?
on. Flag shagger.
Oh.
Hey.
Okay. That is so not what I heard.
No,
If it had been an option, I would have moved to Canada when George W. was elected.
If it had been an option, I would have moved to Canada if it had been nice and warm like here in Southern California.
So
And if they spoke a
you
little
need
bit
to come
less
to
French,
Australia, Kate. It's more your thing.
will they even let me in?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Well, America, and you know how, like, for a while we just weren't allowed around the rest of the world.
Yeah, for a while.
But also,
Well, no one's allowed into Australia
I
at
don't
the
know what
moment.
the standards are like for trying to emigrate to Australia. I mean, how strict is it?
Pretty.
Would they take a 45-year-old lesbian who's unlikely to spawn?
Yeah.
You have to have at least $70,000. You have to have at least $70,000 in the bank. So it comes down to money.
Yeah.
You have to have
I
at least.
can manage that if I have to.
I'll never make it into.
And
Australia.
then, so basically, like in my case,
you have to have
it's
an
like
X amount of money in your bank, and then it's so much per person. It ends up costing about, in fees to the Australian government, it costs about $6,000 just to emigrate. Plus, you have to have money in the bank.
Yeah, well, I think just that bank
and
balance
worse if you have to
requirement
hire
is
a
gonna
lawyer.
roll most of us out.
Well,
and they did that they did it on purpose.
If I absolutely had to, and if I had to fake it, I could probably borrow that off my parents, then give it back to them when I was like naturalized.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sort of thing my parents would totally do if I needed help like that.
But it also depends on why you came over. For example, if you said, okay, I want to study in Australia, you could get a student's visa, be here to add to your education for 2 years, and then apply for citizenship, and it only costs you the amount. It only costs you the visa fees. Then you don't have to have the money in the bank, because once you've been here for a certain amount of time, you can come in. It depends.
I have been thinking about going back to school. There's an I'm not even kidding. Like, that's not humor. I have been thinking about going back to school. Do they have a good robotics program in Australia?
So actually, Australia.
I'm curious to do that. I actually just ordered a couple of different like coding robots online. Not the one you suggested, Purple. That was like $150. There was a much simpler one for about 40. So, but yeah.
Australia is actually leading in science. I was actually surprised. I saw all this really innovative.
Yeah, you don't
stuff.
want to live where I live, though.
There's that.
This is cold in winter. It's cold in winter where I am. So not snowy cold. It does not snow here, but it pisses down with rain.
Also,
and told them, like, they said, "Why are you trying to emigrate?" And I said, "Because I really want to pick up the accent." Would they tell me to fuck off?
No.
No, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'd love to have an Australian accent. I mean, one thing I've noticed, if you have an accent that Americans think is cool, your subscriber numbers tend to be a bit boosted. But also, I mean, I don't know, I like the culture. I'd like to be able to freely use the word cunt. That'd be fun.
I think you can. I don't see why you can't.
Well, actually, you'd be surprised. I mean, if I use that too much on Facebook, well, look at where my account is now. I'd be there just for that word, I'm sure. But no, I mean, I wouldn't mind living in Australia. It sounds nice. Although New Zealand sounds better.
New Zealand's cool, but New Zealand's a lot colder. New Zealand.
It sounds like the wildlife wants to kill you less.
Yeah, exactly. I picture Lord of the Rings.
I love it when Americans say that. It's like the wildlife wants to kill you, but you've actually got more deadly things in the US than we do.
Well, okay, but I mean, like I love that one picture. There's like a meme of this little thing. It looks like some sort of tree climbing deal, big ears and really cute, but it's clearly trying to eat the guy it's holding on to. And you know, it's like, don't worry, this Australian creature won't eat you. He'll try, but he can't. You know,
I live in Florida. It's the Australia of the United States. It's hot as balls. There's a bunch of shit that wants to kill you, including alligators, which would be the closest analog to the crocs that you have over there.
Yep.
We have deadly spiders, deadly snakes. It's humid as fucking Satan's taint. Florida is just...
Try Vermont in the summer. Oh, August in Vermont, you will be just drenched, and you're not sure if it's sweat or the moisture in the air. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Massachusetts. Like, we moved down here when I was a kid, but yeah, I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. There was someone I went to college with who was very adamant about being from there.
Yeah, Worcester. You're from Worcester.
I know people that are from Massachusetts that are very adamant about being from there. That's
Dude,
there's also a Worcester in Vermont. It's kind of funny.
I'm a proud masshole. Fucking Yankee Candle and Dunkin' Donuts are in my blood. Like
Ben and Jerry's. I ate at the very first Ben and Jerry's, the one that was part of a garage. Oh yeah, Ben and Jerry's.
The best Yankee Candle scent it is a black candle, which it was the only black candle that they had back in my pagan days. When you're doing certain magic spells, you need black candles, and it smells so good. And it's also a reference to Shakespeare. The name of it is Midsummer's Night.
Awesome.
Cool.
So it doesn't smell like
good
Gwyneth
shit.
Paltrow's vagina.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that reference never gets old.
One thing though, you talk about like Wiccan days and pagan days and all that stuff. When I moved to Seattle, I was actually living with a Wiccan. I was an atheist, but Wiccans are harmless, so I don't care. Especially because occasionally she'd walk around the apartment skyclad, and I was really okay with that.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, honestly, like fucking
That's really cool.
Naked casting is always fun. Like new moon or full moon, doing a ritual around a bonfire, everybody naked as fuck, burning some sage and sipping some wine and
Wiccans are very important.
I've seen my pictures from the solstice parade. The ones where I'm rollerblading naked in the solstice, the Fremont Solstice Parade in Seattle? No? Okay.
I've seen it.
I haven't seen it. But,
Wiccans are very important. Candles would be completely useless without a Wiccan.
Oh, shut
Nice.
up. You bitch. But I actually have a tattoo on my ribs here, and it says Moanam Cara, which is like an old Irish Celtic phrase meaning soulmate or soul friend. But it's stylized so that instead of being M-O-A, which is how the word would be, the O and the A were combined into a pentagram with an Ouroboros around it. So like a snake eating its own tail.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, it's right here. I think I showed it to you before, Jen.
Yeah, you did.
Here.
This is boring. Talk about mermaids.
Well,
I
have a tattoo on my back from Tron.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Stool, we have women showing off their bodies and you're complaining.
I love it.
Barcode of my favorite number. So
Awesome.
I still want to get "fuck 'em if they can't take a joke" tattooed right there.
Oh, awesome, Kitty.
Awesome.
Oh, come on. Seriously, I've only just joined the room, Kitty.
What?
There are a couple of
What do you
tattoos
say?
I couldn't
There
show
you go,
without
Stool.
taking
That's
this
what
off.
we're waiting for.
Hello.
And all of a sudden, more people are watching.
Yeah.
So, Stool.
My boobs are the fourth co-host. Fourth and fifth.
The fourth.
So that
I was
social
going to suggest
experiment
should we have a
still
tit off?
stands.
But, that's a bad idea.
No, that still stands. Kitty went like this. I gained 5 subscribers, and they're still around. That was like 2 months ago. That was literally 2 months ago.
I love this shirt, by the way.
It is
Did you
gorgeous.
say with your penis?
No. It's my accent. It's my Southern California twang. Is what it is.
What did you say that sounded like that?
Kitty went like this.
Hmm?
Yeah, and then I gained a bunch of subscribers, and they're still around.
Sorry, it sounded like you said you had flashed yourself, and a bunch of people subscribed and stuck around. Okay.
No, it was me showing off the girls.
I would if I thought it would work, but
Mm-hmm.
under the sun, already been seen. Everything's been done under the sun.
Honestly, like
talking about
Something
things
in
that
the
you don't
crowd
like,
that's
but the way they're
flat the walls
pronounced.
are
Will.
jealous. I wish I could make proper cleavage, but they just won't. Ah, well.
I'm a 34F, so
Yeah,
there is
she's
nothing
well
but
done.
cleavage.
Yeah, that didn't come across. Your name is over your tits. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, well.
Oh,
But yeah.
Kate's
No.
enjoying it.
I'm just marveling at how I managed to kill the conversation by talking about her knockers.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
But if we're gonna talk about people and bad language and bad pronunciations, we should say Amy.
Okay, so if you guys want to fight, it's not my fault that in Southern
It's always
California
your fault.
we just kind of say dude and bro, and I can't properly say words. Emu.
Yeah.
Is it emu? Because it's
Emu.
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 Hey,
Pretend there's a
Emu.
Y in
There's a
it.
Y in there. Emu.
There's a Y.
Emu.
it's
Emu.
not our fault that we're only pronouncing letters that are actually there.
I mean, to be fair though, there are other words where we
Don't
don't
make me-
pronounce letters that are there, like
So
herb
when
instead of herb as we say it.
Oh, don't you dare use that word, you filthy American.
You say herbs, we say herbs because there's a
Herbs.
fucking H in it.
Actually,
We say
So,
fucking
Stu-
herbs. Don't
To
get me started on this.
to completely throw this conversation off, I've been watching To the Manor Born, which led me to, of course, Penelope Keith, which led me to No Job for a Lady. I've watched 5 hours of No Job for a Lady, and I'm on
Penelope Keith
season.
is awesome, though.
I'm on season 2.
You are such a sad little human.
So before you start complaining about people saying herb or herb, you say router instead of router.
And that is the correct way to say it.
It's
End
not.
of
Well,
story. Move
I
on.
have to
Get
admit,
over it.
bristle when people say route when they mean route. Route is what you do to an enemy army. Route is the path you take.
Well, the way I drive, it's both.
So it should be a router and not a router. And I kind of want, every time someone makes me say router, I feel dirty. Kind of the way when some
I
of you
will
idiots say GIF
I
instead of
will
GIF.
preface this next statement with the fact that the people who come up with words don't define how they're said, hence GIF. Yeah, they can fuck off with that.
Well,
But the person who came up with the term router for router pronounced it router. So
well,
Okay.
here's the thing. I get a lot of people saying, well, the G stands for graphic, so it has to be GIF. And I'm like, yeah, but we also have a JAG or a Judge Advocate General. It's not JADG. So, the
But
word that the
again-
letter represents does not dictate how it's pronounced.
it's irrelevant anyway because language should not be prescriptivist. It should be descriptive. So therefore, it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter. It can be said either way, either GIF or GIF is correct.
My whole thing is if you understand it, then move on. But I am pedantic about certain things.
No, you must never ever move on. You must always annoy the fuck out of people with this. And I find it really ironic that Australia Jen is lecturing people on how to speak proper fucking English.
Hey, hey.
We'll
Hey,
just-
Okay, I don't want to hear
Well-
it from someone who says that they were in a hospital instead of in the hospital or in
Hey,
a hospital.
Hey,
You weren't in the hospital. Hospital is not a state, it's a building. You were in the hospital.
It's down to the fact that the Americans and the Australians have kind of kept the English language fairly pure, while the British, in a small little island country, have got so many goddamn different dialects.
True.
I've got to agree
Yep.
with this, and it pains me to do so. It really, really makes my balls hurt because it's true that the Americans are doing it correctly, and I hate having to say that. I really
Okay.
do.
Oh, I'm cutting that part out.
One thing I have to mention, though, is we did streamline the language by getting rid of those superfluous vowels.
So,
That's
do
not
you
how
say
it
that you
works,
talk?
though.
Do you talk English or do you speak English?
We were doing fine until
I know you don't want to answer.
Okay.
We were doing fine until the
And
French
also,
came
we
along and fucked with our language.
phoneticized a lot of words. Like, it's not a sabra, it's a saber. It's not fibra. I don't get fibra in my breakfast. I get fiber.
Okay. America, Australia, and the UK are all democracies. We've got more people than both of you put together, so we win.
Yeah, that's true. Just there's more people in Los Angeles. I'm sorry, in California than there is in all of Canada. So
Okay, but I use British spelling. Like I actually spell color COLOUR or flavor, honor,
Which is so
armor.
wrong, but okay.
I don't have time for that. I don't have time.
I
don't-
British
like-
spelling my
I don't. My
entire
food
adult
doesn't
life.
have a flavor or a flavor. It has a flavor. You see, it doesn't need that U. That U is superfluous. It doesn't add anything to the word.
Yeah, the problem with that is you're ignoring the history of words.
I'm looking at a word and saying, that could be a lot more phonetic.
Well,
No
that's
argument
superfluous.
that And also, if people who argue that one spelling is better than the other, you're missing the fact that words have changed over time in their spellings anyway to accommodate the way we say them.
Was removed from print largely to save money on newspaper ink. Right, like they said, okay, we don't want to spend this much. Let's get rid of that vowel, and it'll like be cheap in the long run, and that's why they did it.
Can I trigger some British people?
Ooh, please!
Oh, by all means,
aluminum.
Okay, but the superfluous U in color and a lot of these other letters that we don't pronounce,
dirty
are not there even because of English. They're there because for a while the British thought their own language was for the peasants, so the nobles wanted to speak French. These letters were inserted by the French. We should get rid of them.
Yeah, especially since like I like okay, this people may take exception to this. I cannot stand the sound of spoken French. It just grates on my ears so hard. You know, like I love a good language like Japanese. That's fun to listen to. But French just sounds like gargling, phlegm, and gagging and speaking through your snout.
I'm laughing because I've been there, and it was a culture shock.
I mean, like, there are two languages where you gargle your phlegm that I actually enjoy, and that's Yiddish and Klingon.
Well, as a Klingon, I agree. I'm also a Riemann, apparently.
More brow ridges.
Yes, you're.
I might for Halloween. I'm that bored. Somebody.
Did you say your mic for Halloween?
No, I said I might get brow ridges.
By the way, I just think it needs to be said. Nougat.
Oh yeah.
It just has to be said. Nougat.
Do you know the first? Okay, so
nougat.
So.
You can't say nougat.
The first time I heard Jen say that.
I don't know what word you're saying there.
No, I'm nougat. Nougat.
Oh, nougat. Okay.
Yeah, see, we don't say it that way. We say nougat.
See, but BD
it sounded
speaks
like you were
English.
Mispronouncing a racial slur, which is why I didn't want to say it back to you.
Yeah, so that's what Will said. The first time I said, he goes, "What the fuck did you say?"
No, I'm walking down the hallway. My son is behind me, and we both stopped. It was like out of a bad movie. We literally both stopped in the hallway. I was like, "Say that again." What was that?
Yeah, it just like I felt a little icky trying to say it and deciding I couldn't.
But that's where it gets lost in translation because I said in America that would get you jumped if you said it out loud at the mall.
Well, it reminds me of a Louis C.K. routine where he was talking about how he was raised in Boston, and in Boston, they don't have an accent. It's a whole town of people saying things wrong. Is the way he put it. And he like I had a teacher from Boston who did this thing that he was about to describe, where it like instead of like at the end of a terminal A at the end of a word comes out sounding like an ER, and so for the longest time he thought that a vagina was a vaginer because it vagined. Because of the way it was said in like sex ed class. Okay, so the man has a penis and the woman has a vagina, you know, like that. And so he's like, okay, so you're just going to vagina the table, you know?
G-E-R, vagina.
Right, exactly. You know, and the thing is, Mr. Mead, my third grade teacher, was from Boston, and he put that ER on the ends of things, and it wigged me out a little. Not much, just a little.
I think that's going to be the name of my old man hockey team, the Vaginers.
Vagina? Oh.
The Vagina.
Well, you know,
it would look great on it.
That town called Regina, and I'm sure there's lots of jokes made about that one, but.
Oh, there's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch. Some I don't want to say. If we were on the Godless Sewing channel, I would say. But, you know, I respect Jen's channel.
In Massachusetts, you have to add an H to a lot of things, like to draw out the A. So it's pack the car. Pack the car and have it, yeah. Go into the party.
And
it reminds me because I found out recently that Leonard Nimoy was raised in Boston, which makes me wonder, did he Spock the car at Harvard Yard?
Anyone who's been to Boston, that is the only city I've ever been that's not on a grid. It's literally Boston a bowl of spaghetti.
No, you go down to Faneuil Hall Marketplace, you go to the aquarium, You go, it closed, and I'm really sad about it. But there was this restaurant in Faneuil Hall Marketplace called Durgan Park, and in it, like the whole shtick of the restaurant was that the wait staff was rude to you, and like the more rude they were, the more you're supposed to tip them. So like they just dropped the silverware on the end of the table, and like it was so much fun. And
I'm easily offended.
Job. I would be a fucking Jedi ninja master at that job because, as everyone knows, I can be really fucking obnoxious. So
it was
No.
lovely,
Yes,
and the
Kate,
food
really?
was pretty good too. But yeah, so it closed down, and I'm like really sad about it. And like that was in Boston, and then if you go to outside the Springfield area, there's the Yankee Candle Shop, and you can
Somebody's
go.
echoing. Sorry.
I don't know, but
Sorry.
you can go to the.
it's a holdover from something he said on Twitter. Ignore Stool.
But you can go to the Yankee Candle Shop, and not only do they have all the candles, but they actually have an entire candle dipping area where you get these cores and you can dip them yourself to get like different colors. Like I had a little cat one that I dipped in a bunch of colors to get it black. And it was so much fun. And they call it the center of the universe, like SCENTER.
There was a coffee shop in Seattle, a goth coffee shop I used to go to called the Orifice.
Oh, that's great.
That is awesome.
Like I was the goth girl in high school. Like I had an Avril Lavigne stage too. Like honestly, I'd have to dig it out, but I actually have my sophomore ID, and I literally I'm in black. I'm super skinny, like long blonde, straight blonde hair, like fucking jewelry, and oh man,
Yeah.
like punk rock and goth were kind of my scene back in the day.
Goths, like the goth scene in Seattle was not taken very seriously by the goths themselves. Like basically it was a bunch of geeks who wanted to be scary instead of nerdy, right? So if you wore black, you'd fit in. That was it. No one really, like I could wear a Love the 80s shirt, but because it's black, they wouldn't care. You know, I have a feeling if they saw what was on my my phone, all my MP3s, they'd be like, "Why are you here?" Because it's all like happy, bubbly bubblegum music and shit. You know, like it's hardly goth stuff, but
I think we all need to take a moment of peaceful thought here, because it looks like Australia Jen has got her Liberator out again.
I like the Liberator. It's an awesome looking ship.
I've been trying to breed a strain of grass that's emo so that your lawn will cut itself.
I don't know. It's funny. Before emo was a thing, emo in my world meant Emo Phillips, the stand-up comedian. So when
let's try
people
and make
first
Bill
started
pronounce
talking
emo.
about the emo scene, I was like picturing people walking around in page boy haircuts and acting like dipshits, and it just made no sense to me.
Emo to me will forever be dashboard confessional.
No,
Right.
for me, it's like Welcome to the Black Parade. Like, just like black skinny jeans and band T-shirts and fucking black eyeliner on a dude. Like,
You know, I want to say something really quick. Not everybody has the skinny jean body. Me. They're sold in every store everywhere. I have to go to Walmart to buy pants because I don't wear skinny jeans.
Well,
Where
you know, one advantage of being a lesbian is people don't give a damn how you dress, which means that I can wear boy jeans to have the pockets, and it's okay.
I wore Jinkos. Like in middle school and high school, I had the fucking ginormous Jinkos. I had chain pants from Hot Topic. I kind of went all out, like leaning into the fucking little, like, honestly, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be, you know, like the goth magic practitioner or like grow up to be a suicide girl. Like, they're models, by the way. They're a type of model for anyone who doesn't know. Like, you can look it up. The suicide girls are gorgeous.
They are, but I dated one and she tried to ruin my life, and that's rule number one is don't ruin my life. So be careful.
I still have my goth club membership card.
Well, I'm going to be getting the girl jeans, but I swear I am going to sew a thigh pocket on each leg so that I have a place for my cell phone and my wallet.
Like get Girl Jean cargos.
I'm surprised there hasn't been like a company that said, you know, there's this empty hole in the market we could totally fill, and started making girl jeans and fucking pockets on them.
But they go to all the effort to make fake pockets. That's the bit that pisses me off. You know, with these fucking things that look like pockets, but they're not. And if you're not careful when you're in the shop, you go, oh, pockets! No, they're fucking not. They're just a bit of cloth sewed on the outside, and they could be an actual pocket.
So what happens is a fad catches on, and then the fashion industry makes a million of it. So now that skinny jeans are popular, that's all that they're manufacturing, you know.
All my jeans have pockets, like real pockets, and they have a bit of like stretch material in them. So they're not like jeggings; they're actual jeans, but they do have a little bit of give to them, which is really, really good for me because any extra pressure on my leg is just unbearable. But yeah, and I just get them from Walmart for like, I don't know, $15-20 a pair, and they've got actual back pockets where I can store a wallet because I have a chain wallet, and they got front pockets and only front and back pockets, but still.
I have a question for you. Do you have a brand name? Please tell me you have a brand name.
Hold that. I will have someone go grab it real quick.
In my entire life, I've never actually been inside a Walmart, and I'm not sure I want to break that streak. But if I can find them at, like, Target, for example, you know, or hell, maybe I'll... ordering clothing on Amazon, if it's not a T-shirt, is a bad idea. Gotta try it on first, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm a total clothes horse, and I'm the same way.
Who would have thought a guy with sewing in his name would be a clothes horse?
I have a walk-in closet.
Yeah,
but people judge me.
Converted a bedroom into a wardrobe.
My closet prefers to drive. It's not a walk-in closet.
No.
Sorry.
It's awesome. I go in there and cry. It's awesome.
I can put a twin bed in my closet.
Yeah, Will's closet is bigger than my bedroom.
Well, you know, I had to... so I was really disorganized, then the pandemic hit, and I had no excuse.
I got so much worse when the pandemic hit because I'm like, well, I'm not going out. Why would I go to the dumpster or whatever when I can like do this, that, or the other thing? Eventually, I did clean up. Had some help from my dad, so this place is very no longer It doesn't look like a garbage bomb went off in it anymore. But for a while there, it was just piled like it wasn't actual garbage. It wasn't like kitchen garbage, but I had a lot of cardboard boxes that need to be taken somewhere, and I ultimately ended up trying to make a house for my cats, but one of them stepped on it and it sort of collapsed. But for a while, I had this kitty condo made out of boxes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay. So they are Levi Strauss signature modern boot cut, and they've got a decent bit of stretch to them while still being jeans, and they have a back pocket that will fit a chain wallet. And there's 2 back pockets, and then 2 front pockets. Now, the front pockets are on the smaller side. You know, I could only fit like half my hand in there. But the back pockets are great. And like I said, it has stretch to it, like more stretch than jeans normally would have.
I bought a pair of those at the Levi outlet. But they felt weird. I felt like I was wearing maternity pants, so I gave them to my son because he could care less.
No, like
Where the hell did my phone
these
go?
are the only pants that I actually have.
There
and then my wallet has a pentagram on it because you know.
Unless those pockets can fit this, not good enough.
No, it'll fit a phone.
Yeah, well, that's why I always got in the carpenter's pants. Because they always have that pocket on the right thigh, which is big enough to accommodate any cell phone with up to a 5-inch screen.
For a while, I was wearing BDUs for that, like just black, like because I was in the goth scene, just these black military pants with the 2 thigh pockets on them.
Yeah,
I have a blue pair like that. I guess they're like cop pair. I love them. I absolutely love them.
This is an iPhone 12. It's a 12 Pro Max. So it is like the biggest phone on the market right now, and it fits fine
Yeah.
in the back pocket.
I'd be constantly worried someone would try to yoink that out of my pocket. I need something with the hips, the hip pockets.
Yep.
You know,
But
Dave.
It'll be fit
Unfortunately,
about
Kitty,
halfway in the front.
That is the reason that they don't put pockets on women's clothes, because they think it's going to destroy the lines.
But what you can do,
And they want to
actually,
sell handbags as well.
with these interior pockets here, you can actually just rip this seam open and just stitch on more fabric to lengthen. I don't really need it because I don't keep things in my pockets, but all you'd have to do is just attach more fabric here, and you can lengthen the pocket just fine.
Well, that's what someone who isn't all thumbs would have to do. Me, I do my art on a computer because I can save and undo. But when I'm trying to do something like, with like arts and crafts, working with clay or wood or something, I fuck it up every time. I can't do it. You should have seen me in home ec class back in high school when I was trying to sew. I couldn't do it. I was just that bad at it.
You've never worked with wood.
I'm super ADD, and it's surprising, like how soothing. Like when I'm on my sewing machine, or even like I'll put on a movie and I'll sit here and rock out, watch a movie, and I'll just make a patch or something.
See, that's me when I'm animating.
Yeah.
So you don't know
I'll
that
be
what
like
you said
3D
is
Studio
true.
Max on that screen, and then Netflix or something on that screen. And
That's
yeah.
right.
Kate went to college. We all experiment in college. You don't know if what you said is true there, Saul.
What you said? See, now I'm curious.
What he said, he's very quiet. What did he say?
Saul said you've never experimented with wood.
That's true.
I didn't realize I was. I didn't realize I was quiet.
You're very quiet. I even tried to turn you up.
You're actually at a loss right now.
You're very difficult to hear, which I'm not saying is a bad thing.
Hey guys, I gotta head out. I'll get you later.
Nice, Nikki.
It's great,
Bye.
great seeing you, Nikki.
Don't get run over.
Stool's actually at a loss because usually he gives me a hard time the entire time, but he doesn't know who to rip more, you or me. So he's torn right now.
Well, I have come to realize that I win if Stool throws anything that remotely resembles a tantrum. Every time he loses it, I win.
I didn't realize I was quiet, so that kind of explains why all of my hilarious jokes didn't get a laugh.
You're still very
Yep.
quiet.
You're still very
quiet.
Your mic is usually annoyingly louder than everybody else's. Which now mine is. Do you like my mic? It's turned sideways, but it's old school mic.
I'm really pissed off now. I've broken this. Why is it doing this?
We've had the tech issues all day.
But you're welcome, Will. He's not shitting on you as much because he's distracted by Helen and Betsy.
Usually it's my English.
Oh.
But let's be real. Like Southern California English is terrible, and it's not even because of the school system. It's because we have great weather and lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff.
I've been thinking about getting a vehicle or something so I can actually drive somewhere where it's legal to fly my drone.
Oh, awesome.
Because I'm way too close to the airport, so it's like, yeah, I can't do that here.
My neighbor he's going through a drone phase right now, and I thought he was BSing me. He's like, I have FDA paperwork and blah, blah, blah. He showed it to me.
They've rescinded that since I'm told that you don't actually have to get the license anymore.
So can I shoot it down, though?
Well, I'd rather you didn't.
If it's over my back. No, he was basically like a couple of my neighbors. They called me because I'm like the neighborhood watch. Basically, I'm the loudmouth who's gonna get shot first. Like if I walk up to somebody, but they were like, I had an older neighbor who I guess he's like the last of the Vietnam vet generation around here. He's like, can I shoot that thing down? And I'm like, that's a good way to end up on probation. So let's.
See, what you should have said was, okay, boomer. But I don't know.
But there was this legal thing for a while that you couldn't fly it over people's backyards, and that's what people are geeking out on.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go somewhere like, I mean, I'm in Southern California. We have some canyons and stuff. I'd love to do some sort of like trench run, because one of the things you can do with this thing is it comes with a little like helmet, and you can put your cell phone in it and look through the drone's camera while you're flying it.
That's awesome.
And so like doing some sort of speed run through a canyon would be so cool.
You could do your own pod racer animation.
We have tons of canyons here. Tons of, well, it's, you know, half desert and beachy desert around here.
Yeah, it'd be fun to fly it over the ocean a little bit too. I did that over the Lake Champlain when I was in Vermont, and that was fun.
Can you, there's no laws over flying a drone over the ocean, is there?
Probably not. I think you just have to be a certain amount of, I think it's 5 miles from any, like, clustered together air traffic. Like, you can't be near an airport.
Don't upset the mermaids.
Yeah, but see, the mermaids won't notice the drone while they're so busy churning butter.
Yeah, go fly it over the San Diego Naval Base.
Oh, they'll shoot that thing. I pulled over next to Edwards Air Force Base on my way to Vegas one time to stare at the stars, and the military police pulled up and they were like, "You're leaving right now," and I was like, "Yes, I'm leaving right now." And that was literally just pulled off the road, but I was technically on their Air Force Base property. But you know, you can see the Milky Way.
That reminds me of a funny story. So me and a group of my friends that went to Embry-Riddle, we were headed down for an anime convention in Orlando, and we made a wrong turn and ended up at Lockheed Martin. And fortunately, one of the guys in the car, his dad actually worked for Lockheed, but like there was an armed security guard. They were not having it. And it's like, dude, we just got off on the wrong exit. Like, this is the only thing on this exit. Like, or, you know, like we made a wrong turn. We're trying to get to the convention center. But it was pretty funny because like the guy had to call his dad and be like, "Dad, tell them not to shoot us, please."
Oh yeah, they're not playing, and with the whole Patriot Act thing, they can yell at you even more now. So the military police, like, it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. But I learned a lesson that day, because whenever I do drive to Vegas at night, I do pull over because you can see you can see what part of the Milky Way that we're at. You know, you can see the galaxy.
Well, yeah, you get out beyond the light pollution.
Because out here, it's all light pollution in LA. All light pollution.
It's
so I
not
always
much
pull
better
over.
in San Diego either. I have a friend who's been living in Italy because that's where he was stationed. But he's coming back to San Diego soon, hopefully. He just got a new ship posting. And so he and his girlfriend and I will hopefully do that trip to Vegas we were going to do before he got hit by a car. He wasn't like badly damaged. He wasn't, but it put the kibosh on the trip. So maybe when they get back here, it'll be. I've only been to Vegas once, and it was fun. I'd love to go again, and I would love to go at night so I can see the Milky Way like that, because it's been forever since I left Vermont. Because Seattle was pretty bright too, and you couldn't see the stars there either.
Here's an interesting thing about looking up at the Milky Way from the southern and northern hemisphere. Because of the angle of the Earth and you're in northern and we're in southern, from Earth, the northern hemisphere actually looks out from the Milky Way. So you're looking out through the spiral arm that the Earth is in and seeing the outer regions, which is why you get to see things really cool like the Andromeda Galaxy and stuff like that, which we don't get in the southern hemisphere, because for the southern hemisphere, you're actually looking back towards the center of the galaxy. So you actually see more stars in the southern hemisphere, but you get a better outlook view of the universe from the northern hemisphere.
I have a perfect view of Cassiopeia. I can literally tell you what time of year it is, if it's a W or an M.
What you're saying, Jen, is that the US is looking into the future and Australia's looking into the past.
Well, we're all looking into the past if we're looking up at the stars, but no, it's just more a case of most of the northern hemisphere view is looking out from the galaxy, whereas most of the southern hemisphere view is looking at. It's not exactly that, because you do see out from the southern, obviously, and you do see some of the in from the northern, but there is more looking in towards the center of the galaxy from the southern hemisphere than there is from the northern hemisphere, and you get to see more looking out to the rest of the universe from the northern hemisphere than you do from the southern hemisphere.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much light pollution, like even near all the beaches and everything, that you have to almost go more inland. At least in Southern California. Northern California is different. It's basically Southern Oregon.
I keep kind of hoping we'll have like a massive power outage or something, because I remember hearing this story from like decades ago where the power went out in LA, and all of a sudden the police are getting phone calls about all these UFO sightings, and it turns out that everyone was seeing the stars for the first time.
And
that's why they were calling in.
And we're like every day we're getting hit by meteoroids and everything every day, but they're burning up in the atmosphere. If we didn't have the light pollution, you'd get a light show.
Well, this is
it's beautiful.
Well, the last story that Kate just told, this is the reason why us country folk call people that live in the cities idiots. The lights go out and you look at the stars. Oh my God, UFOs!
Here's the thing, though, that only applies to people who are raised in cities. I was raised in rural-ass Vermont, so believe me, I know the difference between UFOs and stars.
The same thing happens in rural areas.
Exactly.
There was a place up in Michigan where they suddenly started having a whole bunch of UFO sightings because people would see these green discs and trying to figure out what it was, and it turned out that it just happened to be because they had built a new road. So on foggy nights, it was the headlights of the cars coming up the other side of the hill.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm saying. People are crazy. We see something that's unidentifiable, and then we say, oh, it's aliens, or it's this or that.
Because they are unidentified.
Well, how cool would it be if it was, though?
So Neil deGrasse Tyson says this all the time. Like, he doesn't want to meet the aliens that crashed at Roswell. Like, that's trash. He wants to meet aliens that can actually land, and like, if they've been observing us, they should be able to speak our language.
Anybody can have a malfunction, though. I mean, everyone's car breaks down eventually.
But if you're that technologically advanced, you get shot down by an F-17. Like, that's kind of rubbish.
Maybe one of them was just drunk behind the wheel. You don't know.
I know.
Is AUI a thing? Abduction under the influence?
Just look at the old.
Oh, go ahead,
Look at the old SNL skit where they had a couple of UFO. Like, we will conquer you. We are so far ahead of your technology. And then they had the little. No, not the Coneheads.
No, they were dressed like conquistadors, weren't
regular
they?
Dudes, and they handed them these books, and then they're looking, something like that, and then they're like, what the hell are they doing? This is their advanced technology. They have 300 sheep and 4 cows and all. They're like 300 years behind us. We think they stole the UFO, and they're like, no, it's ours. I swear, we are more advanced, and we're here to conquer you. And they're like, no. You're counting lamb chops.
Yeah,
if it's the same one I'm thinking of, like they the two guys, they're dressed like conquistadors. They've got like muskets or something, and they try to say, "We'll shoot you with our guns here." And the general that they're aiming at pulls out like an Uzi and fires off a burst, and he's like, If it's the one I'm thinking
I think so. I think it was.
So what if the ship that crashed at Roswell was just like some 10-year-old who took his daddy's car out for a joyride?
Or teenagers like on a bender when they graduated, Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I still am curious about the probings. I mean, what is that, like some sort of hazing?
And that's another thing. I don't want to meet. No. Even if that's your thing, I don't want to meet anal probing aliens.
Okay, I'll tell you
Sorry.
this: if give me my own spaceship, I'll endure a probing. I'm just saying, it'll be worth it. That's a price I will cheerfully pay for my own UFO.
Yeah.
Or you could just like fake it, like that one episode where Riker was abducted. Just play, kind of play dead on the table, and then jump off. then you can just take the shit.
Just in answer
I
to your
remember that.
comment,
Yeah, he was in a different dimension. But
Are you watching us on the stream instead of the stream?
He's always lagged.
Randy has like a 30-second lag.
Oh.
Or usually it's like a 10, 15.
I apologize. I do not mean to cut anybody off.
No, you're good.
It's just I got the shittiest internet in the world. It's pretty cool too because tonight I had a bobcat and a deer out here fighting in my yard, and I had to go out there and tell them to shut the F up.
I have to do that to the drunks out on the street. Nah, I'm kidding. That doesn't happen very often.
So
Everybody knows that Randy has the biggest lag on the planet, and that's cool because our brains can adapt to it. My lag is small, and so I get a massive bollocking for speaking over people when I'm not speaking over people.
Well, it's because you're perceived as rude.
It's also because your volume's really low and we can't hear you.
And all I could hear was him say that something of his wasn't very, like, big or something. I don't know. I didn't catch it.
Did you guys see?
I'm going to destroy you, Ken.
Hey now, be nice.
Straight to Bond Village. Straight to.
Thank you.
Just
However,
instant Bond.
Did you guys see the girl that she shoved a bear because like a bear was walking on her garden wall?
Yep.
And like her dogs like went to like pick a fight with the bear. And she was like, "Oh crap!" And when one of the dogs went over there, she goes and she shoves the bear, scoops up the dog, and then fucking.
Yeah.
No, she tells the other dog like, "You better run or die." She like tries to scoot the other dog like, "You need to get out of here."
she was interviewed and she's like, "Don't do what I did. What I did was stupid." Like she got a scrape and a sprained finger or something like that, minor injuries. But she was like, I wasn't even thinking. But do not try this at home. Like you could end up really fucked up.
Yeah,
she literally.
I mean, bear paws are the size of most people's heads. You don't want to go messing with a fucking bear.
But if you watch
a mama
the video,
bear with cubs.
But if you watch the video, the bear jumps right back up. I mean, she shoves it. That thing's right back up in less than 3 seconds. Bears are faster than us. They're more agile than we are. You know, they outweigh us by 200 pounds. Be careful.
You got to get mean.
By the way,
if you want to tussle with the bear.
Yeah.
No, she had her bear is so big she needs a wheelbarrow, but still, I wouldn't do that. And I'm like half fearless to the point of like I question myself sometimes. Yeah, same sides of the same coin.
I love you, Will. You were like the big brother that I always wanted because my own big brother, like I never talked to, like he just I have an older brother and sister from my dad's first marriage, and she was kind of a cunt in that even though my dad would send gifts and call and try to be there for his kids, like they got divorced because she wanted to fuck his best friend. And then she basically raised the kids saying, "Oh yeah, your dad left us to go start a new family."
Yikes.
So didn't give the gifts to the kids or anything. Like so it's basically like even to this day, like I have seen my sister once in the past 25 years when I was like 9 or 10 years old. She came to visit once, and my brother came to visit once. Now I haven't spoken to my sister in 25 years. My brother I'll talk to like every couple of years. We'll exchange some emails or some text messages, but it's very casual and light. And like the only reason he's even considered trying to reestablish a relationship with my dad is because he wants to make sure his soul is saved before he goes to and dies.
Oh gosh,
Wow,
that's like my sister. My sister and I, we absolutely hate each other, and because
just for a moment,
because we're from the suburbs, like she did the stereotypical like I need to find myself thing. She moved to Oakland and she joined an all-black church, and she's like this weird like hand Healy, I'll pray for you kind of thing. And we were raised Catholic. Like at my church as a kid, you could wear board shorts and a shirt with no sleeves. Like no one cared as long as you put something in the pot and didn't talk when the preacher was talking. You know, the priest was talking. No one cared.
Kind of feel like I missed out being an only child.
I mean, I have 2 younger sisters, and I have a pretty good relationship with them. Well, one of them, anyway. Like, one of my two sisters is kind of a bitch. Like I love her. She's my sister,
but
but
always the one, Kitty.
But it's like, okay, so she's the kind of person that she cares more about what other people can do for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, that's fine and all that, but like, she's very self-absorbed. Whereas my youngest sister, my baby sister, she's 6 years younger than me, but she's a lot more like me. She's very kind, compassionate, selfless. Like, she does, like, sometimes get on my nerves with like her wanting to be apolitical and kind of listening to a little bit too much right-wing stuff. Like, she's not right-winger, and she believes like we need universal health care and that kind of thing. Like, she's a centrist, I guess is the best way to put it. But she is vaccine hesitant because she's like, well, we don't know, it could cause problems, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, so like, it's complicated when it comes to politics with my sister, but anything else, like, we get along great. Like, she is good to me and my son, and like, she's my best friend.
Kate, if you're feeling that you want some siblings, you can have a half dozen of mine.
Are any of them like into the same kind of movies and TV and music I am?
Probably not.
I'll be an honorary sister. Like, I can be your internet sister.
It's not the same if you don't have like a tree house or a clubhouse of some sort to hang out in. It's not the same.
Oh, come on. You don't want a big brother who's a born-again Christian?
I really, really don't. I can't even express how much I don't want that.
My brother...
A former pagan, gothic, bisexual atheist.
Sounds like a party.
I'll be a
Saturday night at our place.
So my brother was so lame. I said we were talking, and I said something about being an atheist, and he looked at me and he's like, "You can't say that in front of your mother." And even my mom looked at him, was like, "That's lame." She was like, "Even by your standards," but he was so offended that I said I'm an atheist, because in the Catholic world, it's just when you say you're an atheist, it's, you know,
they equate it with like pedophile or murderer.
The story Richard Dawkins tells, where he's like, someone goes up to her mom and says, like, you know, Mom, I'm an atheist. And the mom's like, look, not believing in God is one thing, but an atheist.
That's Julia Sweeney. She's hilarious.
But like, the word is triggering, regardless of what it means.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the one thing I've learned with my family, because they're all emotional and touchy. So just saying atheist triggers everybody, and it's funny. It's absolutely hilarious.
Especially when your
like,
son
people
tells
like
them
that
all
usually want to
terms.
trigger the libs, but it's so piss easy to trigger them, isn't it?
That day was that was actually legendary when my son announced his atheism. That was a legendary day. My dad died January 1st of last year. There was almost every person there was 50 people in the back of the church. People I've never known were walking up to me. You know, everybody's all huggy. And somebody said something to my son. He has ASD, and he looked at them and he was like, "Oh, we don't have to do any of this. We're atheists. We're just here for the ceremony." No one looked at my son. Every single person turned and looked at me like, "Filthy atheist. What are you teaching your child?"
Yep.
It was the most awkward.
I heard stories of like people move to a rural area, and like on the first Sunday, people go, "Oh, I'm so sorry you were sick and didn't show up at church. Here, have a casserole." And then the next Sunday, they come by and they go, "Oh, we're so sorry you're still sick and haven't shaped it yet. Here, have, you know, like a pie." And then the next Sunday goes by and they're like, "We didn't see you in church on Sunday. You can't possibly stop." Yeah, and then another Sunday goes by. "We didn't see you in church." But, you know, and it's like, wow, save me from ever living in a place like that.
That was the weirdest thing, like being from Southern California. When I traveled around America, they literally ask you, what church are you a part of? You'll say, "Oh, I'm not from the area." Then they'll ask you, "Okay, what denomination are you?" It was the weirdest thing. No one cares around here.
Tell them you're a Lex Lutheran.
Lex Lutheran. Oh,
Same thing, Will. I was selling my books years ago at like a flea market, farm market kind of thing. There was a festival. I was playing music, and I had a booth selling my books, and there was just old lady after old lady after old lady coming by. What Bible are you going off of when you're writing this? I'm not.
You can always say Anton LaVey.
It has nothing to do with your Bible. Well, I'll be back then, and then they never come back, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. All I care about is playing the blues and going and getting some of that mint jam from Emmy down the.
I like that the question is
way
which
in her
Bible.
booth.
Like if the Bible is the word of God,
Yeah,
the word of good.
So
No,
she
it's the word of
acknowledged
good.
it.
No, the word of God. Then obviously it's all the same Bible.
So when I was a kid, I didn't really realize the difference until I got around people that were Pentecostal, and I had a good friend that was Mormon, and they back then they went by the James Moffat version.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
New
Well, it's kind
International
of funny,
Version, King James, either way.
I thought your King James had a Windows logo at the top of it.
This is my Jerusalem Bible.
And
This is from some tree I can't pronounce in Israel.
but nestled in between my two Bibles was this.
Get paddle. Give them a paddling.
Ooh, sexy.
Mind you, I only use that when people record in vertical video, but hey.
Oh, why do people do that?
Yeah, I can't blame you for the vertical video.
It's so annoying. And it's
You
so
know,
hard
if
to
I
like,
designed a phone, I would make it
TikTok
so
is
like, even if
encouraging
you
that.
hold it like this, it will film in landscape regardless.
there is a setting in most phones to let you do that, but it's people don't do it. They guess it. And TikTok's partly to blame because everything's
Throw in things like FaceApp and all of those. The what's the one I'm thinking of here? Snapchat, all of those, because you can't rotate it and still take a picture.
TikTok, yeah.
I still haven't ever participated in Snapchat, and I haven't been bored enough yet to create a TikTok, but I'm almost there. Summer's coming.
I've made some rather entertaining photos using like some of their gender flipping software. Like I took the cast of Firefly, the cast of Ghostbusters, a bunch of other, and like flipped all of them and made a collage out of it. And some of it's pretty entertaining. Oh god, what's her face? River from Firefly came out looking like Elon Musk. It's crazy pants.
I saw the Star Trek versions of those. Those were floating around Twitter for a while, but I'm on geek Twitter, so every day it has to be something about Star Trek.
Liberator.
Jen, you are honestly the only person I know that we can have a conversation about the show.
I'm telling you, Elon Musk or what?
Coinciding, yay!
I'm just saying, and like if it weren't for the gigantic hairy man arms, Jane is kind of cute.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, just this, but if
so
you,
the
if you
first
look at
picture
this
is
arm
Nathan
right
Statham,
here, it's like
right?
longshoreman,
Yeah.
Or no, not Nathan
and
Statham.
this right here, Kaylee looks like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Killian. Nathan Killian. A lot of those. Oh boy, I can't remember the actors who that was. It's just bugging the shit out of me. That's what happens when you start getting old. When your hair goes, so does your mind.
Uh-oh.
You're Samson with a difference.
You know what I'm talking about, Will?
Ruh-roh. That's all I gotta say
about.
about that.
This is not true. This is not true.
I was balding at like 17.
Yeah, your volume was way too low still.
I was balding at like 17, so that means I lost it a long time ago. Long time ago.
No, really?
Yeah.
I was eating some bald, but
I had
Not there.
bifocal arthritis and was accused of being senile before I was 25. So
So
getting older
fair.
sucks. I'm just not gonna do it anymore.
All through high school, I was so skinny, I was accused of anorexia and bulimia, despite the fact that people will watch me eat gigantic burgers and hang out with me long enough to know I wasn't going to yarf it up. But for some reason, it was just a weapons grade metabolism. It was a blast furnace down here, and it kept me that skinny. But, people thought I was unhealthy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same. I get the same thing.
I was the same way, that people couldn't believe how I could put it away. And I never got above 140 pounds until I was like 35.
Same here. I don't know how tall you are, but that looked crazy thin on someone who's as tall as Xena.
Yeah, well, I was almost 5'9".
Oh, yeah, okay, 5'9" and a half, just like Lucy Lawless.
Oh yeah, I got you all beat. I farted on the news once.
I could not have. Oh, farted on the news. Okay, I did not hear that correctly at first. All right.
I'm actually
going back, to a previous conversation, thinking about, the announcement. All of a sudden, everybody knows you're an atheist or whatever. Isn't it funny how the entire town looks at you like Aunt Esther from the Sanford and Son? Like, well, you fish-eyed fool.
Yeah, oh yeah. And also because I'm part of the LGBTQIA++ community, like I'm the token family member where if anybody is on, if any, I've been said, oh, my daughter thinks she's a lesbian, and I'm like, why are you calling me? Why are you like? I'm the token gay in the family, so they call me. It drives me insane.
That's why when I was in Michigan, I couldn't be out about anything.
Well, it's funny. Like my dad's side of the family is Sicilian Catholic, right? But and despite that, though, we have 3 lesbians, 2 gay guys, a bisexual, and I think at least 1 trans person. I'm trying to remember who the hell that was. And yet they're still like boggled by the fact that I'm not a Catholic.
Same. I'm bi, and my whole family calls it gay. Well, I lived in Oregon for a while, and my mom still to this day says, "Yeah, you used to live in Seattle, right?" And I'm like, no.
I
lived in Portland for 4 years.
I've said it numerous times. My mum was more freaked out by me coming out as being an atheist than ever coming out as trans or bi. No, trans and bi, that's fine. Atheist? No.
In 1997,
disconnect given by indoctrination.
In 1997, I came out to my whole family. I sent 13 copies of a letter telling them that I was polyamorous, bisexual, and pagan. Only 2 people in my family have ever acknowledged receiving that letter.
That's another thing that is really weird to me, when I'll be around people and they don't acknowledge my existence. Or they won't be like, hey, this person isn't like me, and that's okay. It's just, the older I get, I refuse to be around people like that. I shouldn't have to justify who I am.
So, in my family, there is a little tiny bit of, mild homophobia. It's not when I came out, when I came out to my dad, my dad, was the most fine with it. He was the first person I came out to, and he's like, well, I like pussy. I get why you would too. And that was the end of the conversation. So, kudos to my dad for that. But then again, that was years before Fox News rotted his brain.
Got a great dad.
For other people in my family, it's more just as long as it's not talked about, it's one of those things, they didn't disown me. They treat me like normal, but it wigs them out a bit, I guess is the best way to describe it. And then one thing I'll say, my conservative aunt, conservative born-again Christian aunt, she was actually, aside from my favorite sister, the one person most understanding of me being in a poly relationship. And because I basically was honest with her, and I was like, hey, so here's the thing. You're having this family get together. I would like to bring, both of my partners to this, full disclosure. And she was like, I don't have to agree with it. It's your life. It's not an issue whatsoever, as long as it's not going to cause problems for other people, And I was like, no, obviously not. But it was one of those things. If I was going to bring somebody, I was going to be honest about it, because I'm an open book kind of person, And so it's one of those things, like with my dad, like if we're
Mhm.
walking and he sees a chick and like, you know, with a nice ass and some short shorts, he will make sure to direct my attention that way. And I appreciate it greatly. You know,
so wigged if my dad did that.
I get weirded out.
Sounds like I need to hang out with all y'all.
If my mom at my job we have this guy Lane, he's a caterer. If my mom tried to hook me up with him, that would be gross. I would be like, no,
no,
get
my
away
dad
from
doesn't
me.
try to get me to hook up with any of them or anything like that. It's literally just like, it's like people watching. It's like if you notice a hot chick, you know, oh hey, check out, like she's bent over, her ass on display. It's a nice ass. Appreciate the view. You know, he appreciates the view. He's drawing my attention to it so that I can appreciate the view.
Given my mom, my dad and I definitely don't
my
have the
mom
same
was
taste in women, and so like he wouldn't even know who to point out, you know. But also, it doesn't help that I've come to realize, like for a while there, I thought I might have been ace, but I'm actually demi. So unless I'm in love, there's no lust there.
I know.
Okay, I have to get going here.
I was about to ask you.
Well,
Purple, you're going live earlier
in a bit.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to run a short birthday stream for Sloth Girl before my regular show.
Oh,
well, why don't we
tonight we're going to be dealing with a serious topic of surviving abusive relationships.
You know, now I'm not going to ask about birthday spankings.
Then do you want to? We'll just take this over there because you're going to go live in what, 15 minutes, right?
Well, yeah, in about 20 minutes, and I need a little break here to get some things in order before I do. So
Yeah,
I've got to pop out now.
I was actually saying we should end it. I was actually messaging Will before and saying maybe we should end soon. So everyone follow Perps over because we'll end in a few minutes. If you want to drop the link into the chat, Perps, that'd be awesome. I'm going to add everyone's links in the description below, so please go and follow all these lovely people. I would say shout yourselves out, but you'll get a chance to do that later on, Perps, especially if people follow over. So we won't do that now because we want to end so Perps can get going, but go over, do Perps for the birthday bash and the following stream because it's very important. And I want to thank everybody who's been here, part of the show.
Real quick, I'm actually not going to be able to go to Purple's thing because I'm very tired and very hungry. But I also have nothing to shout out. So,
thank you for being here, Kate. It's awesome.
Sure, glad to. It was fun.
It's always fun.
It's my first chance actually getting to speak with you, Bionic Dance. Like I've seen you around on Twitter and such, but like I've never actually communicated with you. So it was nice meeting you. And I hope to chat with you again.
Don't have to lie to me like that.
No, my family's full of loud, obnoxious people. So, like, you're just like family.
A breath of
like,
home. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm like your big
Dad
brother.
jokes.
I'm a screamy guy.
Okay, so real quick before we go, just funny story. Okay, so when I was younger, I had a terrible fear of clowns, and one year I went to Halloween Horror Nights. Like I used to go every year or several times, you know, every couple of years. And so I went to all of the haunted houses. Like people are jumping out. I'm like, yeah, rock on. Like I didn't get spooked at all. That year they had Jack the Clown's Psycho Scarapy. And I was like, it's the only haunted house I hadn't gone in. So I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. I did one of those syringe jello shots for a little bit of liquid courage. And I go through. The entire thing was just an insane asylum. I'm like, oh, this is just a fucking family reunion. Okay, this ain't scary. And then Jack got right in my fucking face at the very end, and I didn't shit myself. And so I got over my fear of clowns by literally facing a fucking scary ass clown right in my face.
You know, there's a book called The Pop-Up Book of Phobias, and one of them is a clown. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Really? That's pretty neat. I ought to get that book just for shits and giggles.
It's out of print and hard to find, but you can do it.
Yeah,
I'm definitely.
So was mine, and I only wrote them a few years ago.
All right, so again, thank you for everyone for joining us and being a part of this. Everybody in the chat, you're all absolutely amazing. Hop on over to Perp's channel. She's put the link in the chat, so we'll see you all over there in a little while, and be good to each other. And get
Be
vaccinated.
safe and be well
Yeah.
and get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Something selfie stick.
Yeah.
And not
Burn on the
choking.
donut.
As always. Remember.
Bye.